Gratitude. What a powerful word. And we've heard more and more in recent years that there is power in being grateful. That gratitude is an important part of our lives and that we should exercise gratitude. Well, we're going to explore in this episode the science of gratitude. What is actually produced while we are experiencing and expressing gratitude, and why in the scientific quantum realm it's so important to actually facilitate those experiences that you want in your life that will enhance your life, those things that you are dreaming about, hoping for, wishing for, how they can actually become a reality in your life. Welcome to Life by Randy and LBR's book review, as we are reviewing the very powerful book and the concepts therein of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One. In the last episode, episode 5, we talked about heart resonance and how important that is to actually affect matter. What we think about, our thoughts and feelings, combined with an elevated emotion like joy, happiness, any high vibratory emotion on the Hertz scale. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll have the link below. See below for the Hertz scale, the emotional scale of our emotions, and why it's important to go high on the emotional vibratory scale, because we are energy and frequency, and we are interacting with an energetic universe, an energetic quantum field that speaks in the language of energy and frequency. And so gratitude is foundational to further understanding these principles in quantum science. And why is that? Well, let's explore gratitude. When you think about something, and I encourage you to conjure up something now that you're grateful for. Generally, it's something that's already happened. We so often live in the past, right? We live in the past. We think about our past circumstances far more, I dare say, than future events, and certainly more than we're living in the very now moment, the present moment. We think about the past more than we're even aware of. And it's important to become conscious of that so that we don't live our lives unconsciously, looping in the same old patterns. That's generally what happens. So when we think about gratitude, we think about all what we're grateful for in the past, or the roof over my head, or that great job I had, or this wonderful friendship, or the great meal I had last night, whatever. It's in the past. How often do we think about events that we're grateful for in the future, anticipated future events? You've heard me say this before, our imagination is our superpower. And little kids know it. It's the secret, it's the key, right? It's the gateway to what we wish to create. The very gateway to heaven, actually, is to have the faith of a little child. And you think about a little child in the imagination, in the imaginary world that they can live in. Well, generally they're imagining good things. And how often do we tend to disastrosize things and re-traumatize ourselves? Very dangerous, actually, because what we think about, what we project, what we put out in the quantum field has no other choice but to come back and reflect it back to us. That's how it works. And if you don't like the state of your life, or if you even just want to take a neutral assessment of the state of your life, take a look around at everything that you've created. Everything you're experiencing right now, in other words. What are your experiences? What are your friends like? What are relationships with your family like? What's the quality of your thoughts? You'll see what you're thinking about, because you see, we get what we think about. We reap what we sow. It's a boomerang effect that comes back to us. And in this book, Dr. Joe does such a brilliant job of explaining those principles in ways that I can't fully explain. And that's why I take some quotes from Dr. Joe's book. A lot of quotes from Dr. Joe's book. So let's dive into what Dr. Joe says about the quantum you and quantum creating, and what he says about gratitude. Generally, and this is on page 26, we are grateful for something that already happened or is already present in our lives. You and I have been conditioned into believing that we need a reason for joy, a motivation to feel gratitude, grounds to be in a state of love. That's relying on external reality to make us feel differently internally. It's that old Newtonian model of cause and effect. What does going Newtonian mean when applied to your ability to create? It's when the external environment is controlling your internal environment. That's cause and effect. I used to live this way for more years than I care to admit. Gosh, I gave away so much of my power to external environment, to the external conditions. We do that, don't we? That's largely how we live. But until we can turn that around and live in a different way and experience joy by what we are creating in the future, we're going to continue to be controlled by our external circumstances. You see, we've been conditioned to do that here. And very few have told us the secret, or shared with you the keys on how to do this. And so my website, my story, I call it A Journey into Joy. And if you're not familiar with my story, you can read more at lifebyrandy.com. But very briefly, if this is one of the first videos you're hearing from me, or the first video, I can tell you that I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer at the end of 2020. I knew these principles and I deployed the principles, and I believed that I would be fully healed, and I wanted a dramatic story. I wanted to be healed in short order. And sure enough, within 5 months, the cancer was gone without any draconian Western medicine means of chemo and radiation and surgery. I deployed these principles. You see, I found the frequency of joy, and I lived as if it had already happened, and that's the key. And lest you think that I have always skipped around in joy and never been dragged around by my circumstances, that could not be further from the truth. And I do have pain. I do have all those experiences and disappointments that we all face on a sliding scale, from the smaller things in life to the really large things in life. No one here is immune. But whatever you're going through, it's possible to use your imagination, to use your superpower, and to co-create with divinity, and to create a better life for you and for the collective, as we all are ascending and doing this together. More and more are being drawn to this way of being. And it's a way of being, not of doing. Let's dig in a little bit more. What we're going to learn how to do is we're going to change our internal environment, the way you think and feel, and then see how the external environment is altered by your efforts. That's the key. Everything's an inside job. It starts in here. It does. Strive to create an unknown new future experience. Then, when an unforeseen event occurs in your favor, you'll be pleasantly surprised. In so doing, you have just become a quantum creator. You just went from cause and effect to causing an effect. You just went from cause and effect to actually causing an effect. This is on page 25. Hold a clear intention of what you want, but leave the how details to the unpredictable quantum field. Let it orchestrate an event in your life in a way that is just right for you. If you're going to expect anything, expect the unexpected. Surrender, trust, and let go of how a desired event will unfold. Let the universe, let God take care of that. Let the quantum field take care of that. That's what I did. I didn't know how I was going to become cancer-free. I didn't know the details, but I knew that I was. Now, I must tell you that a number of days after I was diagnosed, I didn't know that I had the strength to do it. But that too changed and turned around by me accessing my subconscious and pulling those old limited beliefs and programs out about how I couldn't do this. You know, stage 5 is dead. It wasn't easy. But once I made the decision and I determined that this was going to be an adventure, a fascinating journey, as I called it, and I was going to rendezvous with the divine, to be honest, I more and more unplugged from even the desired outcome and started to live in the present in joy and let that be my guide. It is possible. I'm not superhuman, and I did it. Although we do have superpowers. Here's the key. Giving thanks before receiving an outcome. That's the leap of faith that's absolutely necessary. The new model of reality challenges us as quantum creators to change something within us, in mind and body, in our thoughts and feelings, before we can experience the physical evidence with our senses. Let me say that again. The new model of reality challenges us as quantum creators to change something within us, in mind and body, in our thoughts and feelings, before we can experience the physical evidence with our senses. Here's the science. When you are in a state of gratitude, you transmit a signal into the field that an event has already occurred. Gratitude is more an intellectual thought process. You have to feel as though whatever you want is in your reality at this very moment. Thus, your body, which only understands feelings, must be convinced that it has the emotional quotient of the future experience happening to you now. I'll give you an example of that. So it's February 14th, and someone comes to you and says, on April 15th, here's a check for $10 million. You can deposit it in your checking account, unrestricted, after-tax money, all yours. And here you sit, February 14th, you can't make your next car payment, you don't know if you're going to be able to make your next mortgage or rent payment, and you have little food in the refrigerator, and you just lost your job. So you feel awful. You might feel desperate, dejected, rejected, like a loser. You feel horrible about yourself. Someone gives you this check, so you're looking at the check. Now you know on April 15th, your life is changing as of that date because you've got $10 million. That's for you. Now, how are you going to live from February 14th to April 15th? Because you know your circumstances are changing soon. You know that you are not the dejected, desperate, rejected loser. You've got this. You know it. Because that's the future event that hasn't happened yet. But you would live differently. That's the key, you see. So any projected future event that you want to see happen in your life is a $10 million check that's going to be deposited. Truly. And the key in getting that $10 million check successfully deposited in your bank account is to live in that time frame from the intention to the manifestation in the elevated state of joy, in the elevated emotion of joy, as if it has already happened. That is the key. That is how powerful gratitude is. That's how you do this. In gratitude and in joy. Thanks for watching.